The first time David opened the old cedar chest, it was not with curiosity, but with the kind of mechanical obedience grief demands of the living. His late wife, Eleanor, had been gone 3 months, and the house still smelled faintly of her lavender perfume and the citrus soap she insisted on using. Friends had told him to start going through her things, as though grief could be managed with checklists and cardboard boxes. He hated the idea of disturbing the order she left behind, but the chest at the foot of their bed seemed to call him, quietly persistent, as though it held something waiting for him. Inside were scarves neatly folded, a bundle of photographs tied with a faded blue ribbon, and at the very bottom a small box covered in soft cream paper. The edges were worn, as if handled often. When David lifted the lid, he found envelopes, dozens of them, each one sealed but never sent. His name was on every one. For a long moment he only stared at them. His hands trembled as though he were about to do something forbidden. He picked the first one, postmarked with no date, only his name written in her elegant script. David. He broke the seal. I know I should tell you this in person, but words get tangled on my tongue when I look at you. I just want to say, you make me feel safe in a world that often feels like it is trying to swallow me. I hope you know that, even when I don't say it. David pressed the page against his lips. His chest ached. He remembered Eleanor's shy smile in their early days of marriage, the way she sometimes lowered her gaze when emotions became too heavy for words. He thought he had known all of her silences. But here was proof she had been speaking to him all along, just not aloud. He reached for another. You looked so tired tonight when you came home from work. I wanted to ask what was wrong, but you seemed locked away in your own thoughts. I wish I knew how to reach you in those moments. Please know I'm here. Even when I stay quiet, I am with you. The words cut him open. He had always assumed her quiet meant indifference, or perhaps contentment. But this letter revealed her longing, her frustration at the wall he sometimes built between them. He closed his eyes and felt the sharp stab of regret. Over the following nights, David read the letters one by one. Some were filled with tender memories. The day they had driven out to the lake and she had laughed so hard she spilled iced tea all over the dashboard the evening they danced clumsily in the kitchen to a scratchy old record. Others carried the weight of her private pain. I wonder if you know how deeply I love you. Sometimes I feel invisible in our routines. We wake, we eat, we sleep. Do you still see me, David? Do you still feel me? I ache for the version of us who held hands for no reason, who couldn't stop looking at each other. Each letter was like a mirror held up to their marriage, reflecting beauty he had overlooked and shadows he had refused to face. She had written of her insecurities, her fears, her hopes for children they never had, and always, woven through every page, was her love for him. A love that had sought expression, yet remained sealed in envelopes, tucked away in silence. David began to read them aloud at night, sitting in his chair by the window where the moonlight spilled across the floor. His voice cracked as he tried to give her words breath as though speaking them might bridge the distance between the living and the dead. One evening he found a letter unlike the rest. It was thicker, pages longer, the handwriting slightly unsteady. My dearest David, if you are ever reading this, it means I didn't find the courage to give it to you while I lived. Perhaps I feared what it would stir. But I need you to know this. I never regretted choosing you. Even in our quiet years, even in the arguments, even in the days when you seemed far away from me, I never doubted us. My heart was yours in ways I could never fully explain. If I seemed unsatisfied, it was not because you weren't enough. It was because I wanted more of you. Always. More of your laughter, your thoughts, your touch. I wanted every corner of you. And even when I couldn't say it, I was grateful for every ordinary day by your side. By the time he finished, David's face was wet. He pressed the letter against his chest as though he could hold her heart there. He thought of all the times he had taken her presence for granted, the times he had buried himself in work instead of listening, the nights when he had let silence win. Grief, he realized, was not just mourning her absence. It was mourning the words unsaid, the moments missed, the version of their love that could have been richer had he only paid closer attention. But the letters did more than deepen his regret. They also revived her presence. In each page he found fragments of Eleanor, her humor, her tenderness, her longing, that brought her alive in the room again. He could almost hear her voice, soft and steady, weaving through the air. The last letter in the box was small, written on plain-lined paper. David, if you ever read these, promise me one thing. Live. Don't shrink into silence the way I sometimes did. Say what you feel, even if your voice shakes. Love loudly. Regret nothing that comes from your heart. If you can do that, then I'll know my words were not wasted. He folded the letter slowly, his hands trembling. For the first time since she died, he felt not only the weight of her loss, but also the gift she had left him. These unsent letters were not just confessions of love and longing. They were a map, a guide showing him how to live with more courage, more openness, more presence. The next morning, David did something unusual. He called his sister, whom he hadn't spoken to in months, and told her he missed her. Later, he visited an old friend he had drifted away from, not to reminisce, but to sit together in the quiet of companionship. That night, he wrote his own letter, not to Eleanor, but to himself, a promise that he would carry her words forward, that he would not let silence steal what remained of his life. The cedar chest stayed at the foot of the bed, but the letters no longer felt like secrets hidden away. They had become his compass, the whispers of the woman who loved him deeply, urging him to love the world in return. And so, in the tender shadow of loss, David found a strange kind of rebirth, not by forgetting Eleanor, but by finally hearing her. For the rest of his days, whenever he sat by the window at night, he read her words aloud, letting them fill the house with the voice he missed most. Each time he whispered back into the quiet, "I hear you now, Eleanor. I hear you."